Gunter, so welcome. My name's Will. Obviously, I own Misfit Medicine. I run that. I lifeguard in the Jersey Shore in the summer. Jack, do you want to, or I also work on an ambulance in paramedic school. Jack, do you want to give a quick little synopsis of yourself?
Yeah. Jack Forsman. I'm the chief of Seabird Ocean Rescue. I've been lifeguarding for about 11 years. I also have my firefighter one, but I'm not a career firefighter. Barely ride, but yeah, I'm lifeguard chief, and I've been doing that for a long time. So I have some information in that.
Awesome.
Nice, nice.
Heck yeah.
Gunter, you star of the show. Let's hear it.
All right. Hey, so my name is Gunter Bowling. I'm currently with Myrtle Beach Fire Department. We have a ocean rescue division that I do as well. It basically just we work that on our off days. It's all overtime for us, so it's awesome. We patrol the beach in vehicles. We do basically everything the national standard under USLA. So we have that certification through our fire department, which is awesome. I spent 10 summers with the city of North Myrtle Beach Ocean Rescue as a seasonal lifeguard. I was a supervisor there for a few summers, and that's where most of my experience came from. And I'm just lucky enough to continue it on through the fire department right now. So just
Yeah,
you know,
that's
keep
a
it real
that's
life.
a cool deal. I
Yeah.
remember I went to Isle of Palms, like right outside Charleston.
Oh yeah.
They had their fire department had like an ocean rescue component. They had like jet skis stage outside and everything. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, we do kind of the same thing, and we do have Myrtle Beach actually has like two agencies that work on the beach, like as tower guards. But the fire department itself, we patrol out there in our vehicles, and we actually are the ones who stage the skis and stuff like that. So kind of works out
Okay,
great.
cool. And then I know when we talked prior, you mentioned your fire department. You guys have like the USLA AART stuff, right?
Yeah, so that's what we're classified as because we don't sit in the
Yeah.
towers. But I think I mentioned before that I think we're maybe one of the most active ones because for basically starting now, we just have started it back up 8 hours a day. We have like 2 to 3 ocean rescue units patrolling the city Myrtle Beach limits like every day until basically after Labor Day. So we're out there right behind the tower guards and we'll go in for rescues. I mean, we obviously do the same thing as everyone else, sit in the tower and stuff like that. But
So
Yeah,
what's your
that's that's pretty cool. What got you into lifeguarding? Oh, Jack, do you have a
I
question?
have a question. Do I
You're
have to
raising your
raise my
hand.
hand
Yeah,
when
I
you want
guess.
me to go? No, but I just real quick when you're talking about the vehicles, what's like your guys like vehicle layout? Like, do you guys have like the pickup trucks? Or are you guys more like side by sides, ATVs when you're patrolling, or like how what's that layout look like?
yeah, we originally started with side by sides. And honestly, man, I'm sure you guys know it can be pretty miserable on those really hot days. So we actually run Ford Rangers now. We keep about 3 of them out there.
I told
And
you, Jack.
I know
I mean,
that's the way you gotta
they
go.
honestly work pretty well. But we're kitted out with we carry jump kits. I mean, everything EMS related because we're either paramedics or EMTs out there, and we carry the P2P rescue boards, bat boards, just like you would probably on like a side by side. So yeah,
So
Yeah.
it's a pretty like basic like sprint unit as well. Like we have one vehicle that's like that on our beach, but like it sounds like you guys have like multiple units that
yeah,
like
we have anywhere between 3 and 4 of those out there every day. Yeah,
it's legit.
ready
I
to
was I was just telling Jack we're getting close to re-upping our we call it like our response vehicle. And so right now we have a Ford F-150. And I was telling him like, bro, we got to get like a Ford Ranger, lift it, put big
Tacoma.
tires,
Yeah, I'm telling you, yeah,
get
that's the
it.
way to go. That's what
Yeah.
we're doing.
That like that subcompact or compact pickup. I was like, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And
But
wait,
my
I got
question
one
for
more
you.
question real quick.
Oh, okay.
When you guys are patrolling with those Ford Rangers, are you guys trailing jet skis with that? Like when you're on a patrol, or is it more like the jet skis are staged somewhere else? If like you need to use them, are you gonna grab them, or is there a certain sprint unit that has the jet skis already hooked up?
Yeah, we stage 3 skis. We have 12 miles of beach, so we'll stage them in between. And if some type of ski call comes out, we'll go pick them up.
Okay.
Yeah, but we don't carry them the entire day.
And then my question for you is like originally what got you into ocean rescue? Like did you grow up in North Myrtle Beach and just kind of like that was the local thing or what how'd you fall into that?
Yeah, my grandpa lived in North Myrtle Beach at the time, and man, I spent a lot of time at the beach, and I would just see those guys out there working on the beach or the tower, and had a couple of friends that did it, and they're like, "Man, you got to try it." And my first year of college down here at Coastal Carolina University, I decided to go ahead and do it, man, and obviously fell in love with it, and it was hard to get away from. So just every summer after that, that's kind of how I got into it. I just love the beach, and it was just like perfect for me here.
Yeah, it is. There is that almost like a tick bite part of it that once you get into it, it's like a slippery slope. Like you got into the fireside, Jack, I'm not going to name the agency, but Jack's getting into law enforcement. I went through the EMS side of it. And most people we have tend to go down some sort of path. Like my girlfriend, I met her at Ocean Rescue. She ended up going into the health admin side of things. So she was like into the medical side. She went to college and she's actually an admin at a hospital now. So it's funny how that all like most people that fall into that end up catching the bugs at some point.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, man. Jack, any more questions?
Well, I was just gonna say, like most people, you have that like same story that's like you grow up around the area of like water rescue or just like around the water, and then you see people doing stuff. Like I was 15, and like I knew some of the older guys that were lifeguarding, and I was like, oh, you guys are body surfing and surfing like on your breaks, like when it's like overhead, and I'm like, yeah, this is the kind of job that I'd want to do. And then like, you get into it, and then like once you get into it, I never thought that the road of like all the different types of rescue and agencies would like fall into place, and then you become a lifeguard, then you get into the fire side, there's more EMS, and then like now I'm getting to the law enforcement side. So it's like it all just like ties into one.
Oh, right. It becomes addicting, man.
It's
I
so
think,
addicting.
like you said, it was like a tick bite, man. You kind of just fall in love with it. It's
Once you get it, there's no.
hard to get away from.
Yeah, yeah, that's for certain. But yeah, I guess we'll transition the meat and potatoes of things. So Gunter, like through the Misfit Med page, I put out basically a Google form after Jack and I did our first episode saying like, hey, if you have any interesting stories of ocean rescue, toss them my way and we'll go through. So Gunter sent me a story. Basically, like the short summary of it is he had a pretty interesting missing persons search and then recovery of that person that I think fell into like very much you can't really train for that. And there's not really like a set protocol that outlines what to do. But yeah, Gunter, if you want to take it away and just kind of go through what happened that day and what you guys did.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so this was 2019. I've been on the beach for about, I think, 8 years at this point. We worked this place called Hog Inlet. We were tower guards, but we didn't face the actual surf zone. We faced basically an inlet, and we had a lot of rescues up there. It was basically swift water. A lot of kayak tours in that area. A lot of tourists that would be on these would rent kayaks and do whatever. Obviously, you guys know that, I mean, people tend to do dumb stuff around the water, summertime, just a lot of stuff going on. But essentially, we get a report later in the day. We get off the beach around 6. This was around 5 of a missing kayaker that had rented kayaks or rented a kayak. It was just a solo guy. And he hadn't been back in a couple hours, due back at the time. So we're like, okay, he's probably somewhere around the area. Like, we'll start a search for him at this point. We confirmed first, obviously, that his car was not his car was still at the boat landing. So we knew that had still had the kayak and that he was still out somewhere. And so we actually started grid search patterns out in the ocean side of it because we're sitting on an inlet. And so we probably go about 2 miles worth of grid search, turn up nothing. Give a little context. Across from us, what we're staring at is a privately owned island. So a lot of people would tend to venture over there. So we're like, man, maybe he's over on the island. I don't know. But at that point, we're like, okay, we're going to search the inlet area, turn up nothing. Starting to get later. So this is when we start calling in more resources, more lifeguards, kind of law enforcement to come in, fire department, like, okay, hey, this is a legit missing person. We need to start kind of moving forward with that. So what we end up doing is actually, this is where it kind of gets interesting. We're like, man, this guy, like, there's really no good way of searching this backside of this island that's in between that and the mainland because it's all marshy area. There is one like land bridge that they have made that you could access the island from the mainland versus like crossing over the inlet where we're at. But and so we actually just drop a lifeguard off with a radio and he runs into the forest. He runs into the forest of the island, just disappears. He's like a wild man, and it's kind of cool. So we're just like, he's gonna go searching to the island because maybe he's in there somewhere. And so what we do is we kind of regroup. We're like, okay, what do we do here? Like, what's like our next step? We're thinking like, man, maybe this guy's stuck in the marsh. And so we managed to get eyes on the backside of the island by one of our bistro officers. And he's like, hey, I see just a random paddle just like sticking up in the mud, like in the pluff mud out in the marsh. And we're like, oh crap, dude, like this dude's probably like stuck out there. And so we paddle over on some rescue boards, get over on the island, and we start trekking through the woods to get to the backside. And we get to this section, and behold, like we see a paddle, and we could just barely see him like a kayak in the marshy area. And we're like, oh, like, holy crap, dude, like this guy's out here. And so we're like, well, how do we get to him? Because if you guys are familiar with pluff mud, it's pretty hard to get through if you've ever been in it. And so we get in the pluff mud, and I mean it's like waist deep. And so we're like having to crawl basically with nothing but our board shorts on, like a can, and we have a rescue board. That's all we have.
That is the most lifeguard shit ever. Like, yeah, just sent a guy with a radio into the woods, and we just figured it out.
I mean, it really was. And our beach patrol officers, they're at the time, they're police officers, but they run the lifeguard agency in North Myrtle.
Okay, cool.
And so, but they're hesitant maybe a little to let us go. They're like, hey, we don't know about this guy's like putting you guys out there. We're like, well, we got to do something. We're the only ones out here. How else are we going to get out there? And so we just honestly, we're just, guys in our younger 20s, just kind of like, hey, I don't know, we got to figure it out. Like, let's just go. And so we're just crawling through mud. I mean, we're absolutely covered in mud, and we get to the guy, and he's dehydrated. He's mostly okay. Like, he's like, hey guys, like I got out here, I got stuck, and I can't move. He was like, I was just gonna wait until the tide came back in, but at that point, it'd be in the middle of the night. So, I mean, he'd be trying to.
What does the time frame look like right now from like start of search until you guys located him? Because you had said it was like 5 hours between him renting it and the initial like, hey, something's not right here kind of notification was made.
Yeah, so he had rented earlier at some point that morning. I can't remember the exact time, but he had the kayak for a while. He was already probably 1 or 2 hours past his due back time, which was probably around 3 or 4 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock when we initiated the search, but we were kind of slow to maybe get into. We're like, okay, well, we got to make sure this is actual missing person. Like,
yeah.
And when we confirmed it, I mean, this was like an ongoing, like, so by the time we found him, it'd probably been a solid 3 to 4 hours. So it was starting to get dark. It wasn't dark when we were in the marshy area, but I remember by the time we had gotten him back, it had been dark, and we got home well around 8:30, 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah. And are we talking like sunny, hot day conditions?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was a pretty typical day. I mean, it wasn't anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah. So that guy probably spent a decent amount of time roasting there in that sun with nothing.
Oh, this guy was just out there baking. I mean,
Yeah.
We asked him, we are like, hey, are you good to maybe go ahead and get out of the kayak? And he's like, I mean, if you think it's okay, like I didn't want to, he was afraid that he was going to jump down in the pluff mud and just sink. And so he didn't want to try to like crawl over to the island. And there was no way he was going to go the other way towards the mainland. It would have just been miserable. So yeah, we got him out of the kayak, and we basically gave him the kayak paddle to hold on like this. And he was like kind of just dragging himself along. And like we were next to him, helping him like kind of push him through the mud. He was able to walk and everything. Once we got him back to the inlet, we had skis. We had people there at that point on the island.
Yeah.
We were able to get him on a ski and just get him back across. Everything worked out. But, this is like, we'd been on, most of the guys that were on that rescue, we'd been around on the beach for a while. Like, we've done our rescues, whatever. But this one was just like, holy crap. Like, what do we do here? Never done this before. Like, what if that guy was really messed up or something? And
yeah, or God forbid he was fat.
If we would have actually had to drag this guy out, he was immobile. Like, oh man, that would have been really hard and difficult. So, yeah, it was just, I always remember that one because I'm like, man, it's just something you don't train for there. I mean, I really don't know what else to do there. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. Jack, do you have any questions
Yeah, so
that popped to mind?
yeah, so like when you talk about the pluff mud, I have no idea what that is. What's like that layout like in between? So is it like you have like the inlet like deep water and then it gets like to shallow pluff mud and then like beach island like that you were talking about? Or is it like is there like a whole section of like this like inlet where it's just like inches deep of this like pluff mud?
Yeah. So I mean, it was like a really marshy area. If you ever go to like some of those coastal low lying areas, and it's just a bunch of cord grass and stuff, little creeks running through. Like that pluff mud, if you were to ever step in it, like it's like when you step in the pluff mud and you lose like your flop or something, and it like sucks
Yeah.
down. Well, this pluff mud where we were at, like in that spot, like this, it was like waist deep. And so imagine that, like where you lose like your flop or whatever, like that was like what it was the entire way to the guy, because we're not in the surf zone. It's in between like actual mainland land, and then you kind of go in a marshy area, little waterway coming through, marshy area, and then island. And he was like in the middle of that. And so, I mean, it was just straight mud. I mean, when we came out of the water, I mean, we were just plastered in mud like all over us. Like it was pretty crazy.
Now, is there like soft spots within it that like if you take a step, like are you going like 4 or 5 feet deep, or are you just like maxing out at like a 2 foot, 3 foot like drop like at your waist, or like could you go farther in and then like then that becomes like a whole like stuck and that's even a harder rescue.
I've never heard of anybody going in pluff mud and like completely disappearing.
Okay,
That'd be
That'd be a
pretty
shitty
scary.
way to die.
I
like
would
that's
I would
that's
hope that would never
terrifying.
happen. The pluff mud that I've ever been in, the deepest it's ever been, is probably about waist to chest deep.
Okay,
Like you're not gonna die, like you're not gonna drown, I don't think, or just get sucked down in the mud. But generally, people don't know that, and so like in that guy's case,
yeah.
man, like he's like, I'm not jumping in that. Like you sink down through your thighs, you're like, well, I'm probably gonna go further. So yeah, I mean, where we were trying to get to this guy, it was like that. Probably the worst I've ever been in, and so yeah, it was kind of difficult, but
That's awesome. All right, I got a quick one. You'd mentioned you guys have like in that area fire, you have the ocean rescue PD, you have the traditional lifeguards. So what exactly is the breakdown of like agencies involved? So you have FD. I'm assuming there's like a normal PD component. Are the ocean rescue cops, are those through the police department or are they through ocean rescue? And then what the lifeguards, how is that broken up?
yeah. So as far as like North Myrtle Beach, they run their ocean rescue department through the police department. Essentially, you're kind of like a subset from that.
Yeah.
There's like five beach patrol officers. That is, they're police officers, but their main job is to run the lifeguards. They act as police officers, obviously, but they run the lifeguards. They're in charge of it. They do the whole training and everything. The fire department is through the city as well for North Myrtle Beach, but they don't really have anything to do with the lifeguards. Back when I worked for them, like we never really trained with the fire department very much, just here and there. But they would come and assist, like for water rescues here and there. As far as like what I'm doing now, basically the fire department's like very big, like with their own ocean rescue division and stuff like that. But for North Myrtle Beach, that's kind of how it was set up. The lifeguards just operated under the police department, but I mean, it was like a whole, basically its own thing. So
That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Jack, anything? And I know I mentioned this earlier, and I'm skipping around a little bit with this question, but the fire department you work at now, you mentioned that you guys have an ocean rescue component of that. Is that something that when you get hired as a firefighter there, and maybe you go through your training, that's like part of the training that every firefighter is expected to have competency in? Or is that something that like once you get in as like a fireman one or whatever you want to categorize it as, that you have to do additional training and qualifications to be able to like, because you said it's overtime, be able to do like those shifts?
right. Yeah, yeah. So for Myrtle Beach Fire, it is a specialty team for us. You basically have to do, once you get hired by Myrtle, become a firefighter, whatever, you do like a year probation, and then you're basically eligible to try out for whatever team. For Ocean Rescue, you have to do basically, you have to try out like a lot of lifeguard agencies as it is. Obviously, it's the 550 yard swim in under 10 minutes. and
Yeah.
then you get put through the whole USLA week, surf school through the fire department. But it is a specialty team. It's not really, you have to want to do it to
Okay.
actually, you have to want to do it to be on the team. That was a big reason why I actually wanted to work for Myrtle Beach, is because through the fire department we have an ocean rescue team. It's something that, like, what's cool about it is because you basically become a swimmer for the fire department. So you do your ocean rescue shifts on your days off that you're not on shift. But when you are on shift, you basically sign in as a swimmer. So if there is an ocean like a rescue response, like after hours when the agencies aren't out there, you respond as a swimmer, whether you're on an ambulance, whether you're on a rescue truck, an engine, or whatever. You respond as a swimmer, and you're basically hopping off whatever apparatus you're riding, and you're hitting the water. So that's
That's
a cool
pretty cool.
component of it as well.
Yeah, that's super cool because we have like we're up in Seabright, New Jersey, and so pretty much any of the emergency components of Seabright have like some degree of water rescue training. So our headquarters is basically in the same parking lot as the PD and the fire. And primarily summertime, if it's operating hours for us, we'll be primary for any water rescue, and then PD and fire will respond. But fire in our town, despite it being volunteer, and in New Jersey, like, not knocking volunteerism, but in New Jersey, it very much ranges as to how competent, how much training, what the standard is when it comes to volunteers on EMS and fire. And so we're super lucky that the fire department in our town is very progressive. Their chief, Chad Murphy, he does a great job with staffing that house. They have full-time people that are around year round. They have seasonal applicants that hang around for the summer. But they actually run a water rescue component of them that they have. I think it's a rigid inflatable, if I'm correct, Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah, that they'll respond on, and they do not like a ton, but they do a pretty decent amount of water rescue training, and we're real close with them, like we're buddies with them, so they'll come over if it's a slow day, and we'll run through drills with them. We are unique that kind of sounds like you guys. We don't much have an inlet, but we have an ocean side and a river side. So we cover the river side as well. And then the river side, we have a bridge that we get a little bit of that swift water action going on. So we'll do a lot of joint training with them. And then when it comes to the off season, like in the summer, if it's an after hours, we have an ocean rescue response as well, but it's usually from home. But they're usually staffed, and if it's in the off season, they're primarily the main ones to go. And that's why I was super interested to hear what you guys did for your component. But that's super cool.
Yeah, it actually, I mean, it is pretty neat because, like you said, you guys have a riverside. We are basically sandwiched in between the ocean and the intercoastal, so we deal with that as well. We have responses in there because a lot of boats go through there. We get a lot of people that fall off boats and stuff like that. And
Yeah, those are usually the fun ones too on the
yeah,
riverside.
yeah, and honestly, it's actually kind of weird. We get a lot of rescues in retention ponds in our area.
Really?
Yeah, so we've actually had quite a few rescues in cars going in retention ponds and getting rescues out of people pulling people out of cars. It's actually pretty wild. So, but
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
yeah, so it's
So
pretty.
I have a question going back to the rescue. So like what's like the layout of like how you guys set up your ski? Like is it more of like the like you guys have like one of those sleds in the back and you have like a swimmer on the back when you're driving it, or like give me just like a rundown of like when you guys are setting up your ski, because I'm the like the ski operator for my town. I love like knowing like the different types of idiosyncrasies that like different agencies have on those skis.
Right. Yeah. So the interesting part about where we sat, like I was talking about, it's an inlet swiftwater area. So we had the ski, if it was not staged in the water, and I'll talk about like what I mean by that, but like we had it right next to our tower, ready, like unbuttoned, ready to basically dump in the water and just go. Because I mean, if you were to just send out guards, like kind of running through the water, it would take a while to get there. So we did a lot of ski rescues, but it was interesting because of how the inlet sat. It's basically the tower, the lifeguard tower was sitting on a peninsula. So we actually had the ski staged in the water. We had it anchored right off this bank. So it was we had a side by side at the tower. We'd hop in the side by side, drive 50 yards to the bank, hop on the ski, and we're out there like ready to
That's
go.
dope.
But basically, other than that, we just had it on a ski sled and dump it in the water. We had a rescue swimmer on the back, ski operator, just basically like how normal USLA standards are, I guess. Like you see most agencies running like that.
Yeah.
We ran the same way, but yeah.
And so when you guys rig your radio, like so you have radios rigged up on the ski operator, obviously, right? Like do you guys have like the chest mount, or you guys more like the headset mount? Like what does that look like?
Yeah, we had just a chest mount waterproof bag. We literally had the radio ready to go in there because we were just going on it so frequently. We just had it ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you guys are staging it on the beach and it's like ready to go, are you guys on those like big fat tire beach trailers, like the ones that you get like from like I forget what it's called, like the Florida company that give like those like big like rubber tire beach sled or beach trailers?
I think we used to have the ones the big gray ones.
Yeah.
We don't use those anymore. They make some type of treaded beach tire. They are wider and a little bigger than typical trailer tires, but the ones that we had worked fine in the sand and stuff. Yeah. The only issue what we had at the time is I don't know how you guys have it set up, but our ski was actually if you have the trailer, if you were to like drive the ski up onto the trailer, that's how it was staged. How we keep them for the fire department now, it's sitting backwards. So we can actually like basically catapult it into the surf zone like that way.
So you guys will be like backing it up and then like it's like unhooked and it'll just like shoot off the trailer
Yeah,
like into the water.
that's how we do it now. Yeah.
That's sick. Yeah.
Yeah. That way, honestly, is probably one of the fastest like
But yeah.
surf launches I've seen. I mean, you just let it go and launch it.
And that operator will be like on the ski when it's getting backed up and just gets launched in, turn it on, and then he's off and going.
Oh, we used to do that. We used to have the guy, but for clearly obvious reasons, we don't do that anymore. Someone got hurt.
Someone fell off. Someone fell off and ruined it for everybody.
I wish we still did because it looks pretty badass, but no, we don't do that anymore. We just kind of have somebody
typical.
Waiting to catch it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like typical rescue protocol. Like you're doing something, someone gets hurt, and you're like, all right, we gotta change something up.
Yeah, yeah. Everything's almost too safe nowadays.
Yeah.
Who's that memo about, or who created that
always
one?
one guy. It's always one guy.
That's awesome. I know. What is it? SLNW, Jack? Is it the Australia people? That it's like the volunteer life-saving service that they have the big Coast Guard cutters that they have them staged in like boat houses, and they have these train tracks that are like permanent structures that they'll fucking just drop this thing like a missile on the train tracks into the water. And I see that on Instagram. It's fucking nuts.
I mean, that'd be cool, man. If you
Yeah. No, it's like Australian. I'm pretty sure it's Australian. I want to say it might be New South Wales, with NSLW, something like that. But it's all volunteer. They have like a school they go to in the country I think they train there. But they do like, basically it's like everything from Coast Guard level boats to down to jet skis and like normal lifeguarding. It's crazy. And I see it on Instagram all the time. And I haven't quite been able to get a read on it, but that whole jet ski launch made me think of that.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of like that. I mean, you just shoot that thing off, man, and get ready to go.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. All right. Jack, do you have any more questions? Because I was gonna.
Well, I just have one question that we could go back to like the beginning. What was like your swimming history like going into like this field like beforehand? Like were you ever like a collegiate swimmer or like a swimmer like a club swimmer? Like a lot of our lifeguards have some kind of swimming history, but I'm one of like me and Will are like one of like the only really lifeguards that like I just surfed my entire time like growing up. Like I never really like competed in swimming, and like it got me a little bit like I started when I was like a sophomore, junior in high school, and then like senior year I swam for high school, and I did that just like stay in shape. But like, did you do any kind of like background in swimming beforehand?
Dude, yeah. I mean, it's funny because people ask me all the time. They're like, "Man, did you swim in high school?" I'm like, "No." Like, I didn't have any competitive swim experience. Like, great in the ocean, like you. Like, I surfed, and I was like, when I first tried out for lifeguarding, I was like, "Oh man, I'm a surfer. Like, it's gonna be cake." And the moment you get in the pool and you start doing laps, you're like, "Holy crap, dude, this is not like what I thought." And that was when I was like, "Oh, I got to work at this." So I had like no prior swim experience, and then Yeah, man, I started going with people that knew how to swim and picked up all everything from them over the years. And so yeah, I mean, I'm one of those too. Like I had no prior experience swimming.
Took me years to figure out flip turns and like
Yeah,
keep my head
yeah.
in the water. Like I was always swimming with my head out of the water, and like my old chief would be like, "Get your head in the water right now." I'm like, "Oh God, no, I can't do that."
Jack, it's funny you asked that because no kidding this morning. So Gunter, my girlfriend, I said before I met her at Ocean Rescue, but she was a collegiate swimmer. And so like I pass the 500 every year, but I am not a fast swimmer.
Right.
Like I'm comfortable in the water. And for the life of me, I've been talking to her lately. I'm like, I could not tell you why I can't get my 500 time better. Like it hits a cap and it's not great. And she'll sit there and talk shit. She's like, "Oh, that's what the 8-year-olds get." I'm like, "All right, fuck off." Uh,
Yeah. Leave me alone.
but I actually went with Amanda this morning to the Y. And I was like, "You need to sit here and look at what I'm doing wrong." Of course, she just ripped me a new one, breaking it apart. But it's funny because like I had a football background. Like I grew up playing football and doing CrossFit, and how I got into ocean rescue. Like I always grew up around the water. I wasn't really a huge surfer, but I actually was a bouncer at a local beach bar in our town. And so I'd sit there for hours and look at ocean rescue doing their thing. So like when I went into ocean rescue, I'm a little bit smaller now, but I was probably still, I think my first summer I was like 230, 235. Like I wasn't chubby, but I was stout. And that was a quick learning curve. I think I went from
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
230 to 208 that summer just from running and swimming so much. But I definitely feel that lack of a competitive swimming background is it's tough out here.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, first day walking in, I'm for the test. It's like you see all these like swimmers getting like sub 7, getting low
Yeah.
sixes,
Yeah.
and I'm like, dude, like there's just no way. I mean, it's all technique for those guys. Like they've been doing it their whole life, and but I don't
Yeah,
know.
that
In a way, I think it makes like guys like us appreciate it a little more because I mean, we had to put a little extra hard work into it, and so you kind of, you're like wanting to work a little harder to get a little better swim time every year. So I get it.
Show up with like cap and goggles, and I'm out there, no cap, no goggles. I'm like, just get me in the water. Like I'm good.
board shorts, board shorts that are like 20 years old and your nuts
Yeah,
about to pop out of them.
yeah.
Oh man, I had hair down to my shoulders trying to swim at the time, my first year, like all in my face. Like, dude, yeah, it was miserable. But
The worst is we have a junior lifeguard program that basically runs from like 8 years old essentially until like 15 years old. And the worst is seeing those little fuckers swim their 500 in the ocean and get like six something, seven something.
but
Like,
yeah,
like God, like you
bunch
guys
of
are the
little
worst.
savages, man, swimming all the time.
Yeah.
Like, chill out on that.
Yeah. All right, cool. Cool. Jack, any more questions or I'm gonna transition us to the what we went well segment of this.
Sure
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. I got all my questions.
Cool, cool. So Gunter, just kind of looking back over things, what do you think was the overall like went well? What would you suggest? Like if another I wouldn't say suggest for another agency to pick up, but that if you guys were to go and do an after action report, like, hey, where do we excel in this?
So honestly, overall, I think we did pretty well on just under the circumstances of not really knowing exactly what was going on. Instead of doing nothing, we were all doing something at some point. Like we were making something happen. We're like, hey, okay, let's go back to the basics of, hey, we're gonna go do a search out here. We're gonna look here. We're gonna look here. We're gonna confirm. Blah blah blah. Beach Patrol was already on in contact with the Coast Guard at the time. Really getting the right agencies there happened very quickly. Us just getting in the water, kind of looking for the guy was pretty spot on. But I think those aspects of it went very well. I mean, everyone was pretty calm and collected. I mean, it was chaotic. Most of that kind of stuff is at some point, people
Yeah,
start freaking out. But
especially that first like 5 to 10 minute range
yeah,
of like that response and arriving on scene, and it's like, okay, let's calm this down a little bit. Let's sift through the shit.
and I mean, we had pretty good leadership, and like I said, the people that were the main guards on the rescue, we had all probably had 7+ years on the beach, so we were pretty confident in what we were doing. We weren't like nervous. We were just, hey, let's go do our thing. I mean, we've dealt with missing swimmers, missing people before. So I mean, we're just like, let's go do something. Let's try to find them. So I think that
Cool.
worked really well.
Yeah, yeah, I like that because that's kind of Jack and I did the first episode, and we had a body recovery one summer. And that was kind of the thing we took away from it is like, okay, like this was a not typical scenario. Like we just kind of adapted and went forward and made it work, and got the ball rolling on it. It was the similar takeaway that we had from it. But with that being said, is there anything going back that you would change or adjust, or maybe like knowing what you know about the marsh now, is there anything that you would think would be a good idea to get that guy out, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I actually think about it all the time. I'm like, would there have been a better option to try to get this guy out of the marsh? I really don't know. And to this day, I'm like, I don't know what would have been better. And that's why I always talk about like, what if this guy wasn't very mobile? How would we have like moved him out? We would have probably had to like slide his kayak through the mud or something. I don't know because there's no easy there. You can't get a boat in that section. You can't really feasibly like really no other agency. The only thing I could think of is maybe they would have like a Coast Guard helicopter definitely could have maybe got down and like maybe airlifted him out. But other than that, there that was the only thing. Like we didn't really have much of a plan other than crawl the dude out. Like that was it.
Yeah, yeah. Because
And I mean,
the thing that popped to mind for me is you mentioned those P2P rescue boards, and I don't know exactly what the density of this mud is, but do you think that if you took the boards, because I'm thinking like, oh, get plywood, flop it down, that way you have a wide surface. Are the boards wide enough that would they sink too, do you think? Or if you like, because I'm thinking like, hey, let's pull the boards across this island and lay them out as a walkway. Would those be wide enough to kind of hold, or is the mud not really like
they,
supportive of
I
that?
think they would. I think they would probably hold. The issue was what it was probably about 50 yards worth of mud. So I mean,
Okay, so it would have been, yeah.
and we probably trekked through on the island section maybe between 200 and 300 yards of like actually having to walk to the edge, and then that's where we hit the mud because we
Yeah.
walked through like a tree section, like a little forest section, and then on the other side of that, because that's why we couldn't really see the guy. It was the whole island was blocking him
Yeah.
until we got eyes on the backside. That could have maybe been an option, but it was a matter of how
Yeah.
many boards we have needed. If we would have needed, I don't know, 6 or 7, did we even have that, and how much time would
Yeah.
that have taken? And then also, like if we would have tried to like maybe get the board through there, like we would have probably been there's we would have been just dragging the board. I mean, there would have been no easy way to move them except maybe like you said, walking across them at some point. But I mean, it could have been an option, especially
Yeah. No, that was just the only thing that popped into my head.
I think we could have probably rigged something up to if we would have taken like a fin off of one of those rescue boards, and if the dude like would have just laid on the board, we probably could have just hauled him out that way. Like that would have probably been something that I would have tried, like maybe tied some ropes or something to him, like to the board, and just slid him out that way. Or at that point, try the kayak itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
Since
super
yeah,
cool stuff.
since this rescue happened, did you guys add or change anything within like missing persons protocol? Like in like how like the dynamic goes, like where you guys search first or whatnot? Like did you guys change anything in your protocol, or did you guys kind of just keep it the same and like this is more of like an experience takeaway? Like all right, this happened this one time, so like when another missing person case in the inlet happens, like you guys kind of like come together and think about it like that way.
yeah, probably the latter because we didn't really change anything because it was just so random that we'll just keep that in mind for next time. It's like, hey, we had a kayaker go missing in the inlet, like because we know that there was an access back there, so that's why we were thinking back there possibly anyways. So we kind of knew that that was an option, but now it would probably be more of a priority option if it were to ever happen again. Probably a couple years after that, it was a body recovery, and we had that's where they found a body that had drowned in that inlet. Was
Oh, no shit.
not the exact same area, but like within that kind of zone. So they knew to probably go back there and check. Yeah,
No
so
shit.
that's about it.
Nice. All
So
right, Gunter. On my side, I don't have anything else. Jack, you got anything? All right, cool, man. Well, I'm super pumped with how this went. I think we'll wrap it up. I'm
Yeah,
gonna click stop recording, and then we'll still be on this. But I
sure thing.
appreciate your time.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate it, guys, and I'm
Yeah.
glad we got to talk about it. And I mean, it's an awesome experience.